Hi, it's Laura Deck from Reading 18 Tarot and Books. Thanks for stopping by my channel today. Welcome or welcome back. This is, of course, my recap for March 2023. I will be sharing my books I've read this month, decks I've received this month, some other kind of random musings, and what I've been up to over the course of the month. I'll timestamp everything below as per usual. So, general updates, life updates first. March was my birthday month, and I love birthdays. I turned 36, and for my birthday, I had hoped to be able to go on a nice hike and, take some photos and share some nice hiking photos and video with you all. Unfortunately, the day before my birthday, we got a snowstorm, and we ended up kind of above the knee deep in snow. Trails were closed, parking lots at trails were closed, parks were closed, so I did not get to go on my birthday hike. I also did not get to film my monthly tree video for Maple, so maybe April will have 2 tree videos in it. I'm not sure. I absolutely still plan to do the 12 trees that I chose from the Tree Lore Oracle to make that tree video series. Monthly is clearly just not quite going to happen, or didn't this month anyway. The weather on weekends, which is when I can film these, did not cooperate. So some of the, most anticipated plans I had for the month did not exactly work out. I did have a great birthday, though. I got to wander around a bookstore for a little bit, which is one of my favorite things. And my partner and I had a really, really nice dinner. I had one of my absolute favorites at one of my absolute favorite local restaurants. I had okra vindaloo, which is not on the menu, but it's our friend's restaurant. He makes it for me. And, some other dishes, and that was really fantastic. And then just had kind of a quiet night, some drinks at home, and relaxed, and lots of kind of self-care over the course of the weekend, which was really, really nice, even though there was no hike. I did get Cinnabons, though, which was good. I was really looking forward to those too. I'm always quite interested in having lots of great food on birthday, so that aspect was very good. The outdoor activities, just not so much. Bit of a flop there. I did get to celebrate the beginning of spring with spring equinox in March, though. My Druid Order, the AODA, has a spring equinox ritual that is focused on air, since, air is associated with spring, air is an element. And our ritual focused on healing the air and wellness of the air and working against air pollution. And so I was happy to participate in that. I did so in a, kind of solitary solo fashion, but, at the same time and on the same day as many druids all over the world. So that was exciting. And that day was actually quite nice. So I did get to spend some time outside, which was very welcome. It wasn't warm enough to kind of sit outside or read a book outside or anything like that, but I was able to go for a bit of a walk and spend a bit of time in the garden and in the yard. So that was good. Another thing that was a lot of fun in March, or mostly in March, was completing Kelly from the Truth and Stories Geomancy class for the second time. I took it in, I want to say 2021, and it was re-offered, and there's a bit of a discount if you retake a class that you've taken before, so I was happy to sign up and take the Geomancy class again. It was a really, really good refresher, and I'm looking forward to practicing Geomancy more. For folks who are unfamiliar with it, Geomancy is a really ancient divinatory system. It is one that is elementally based. It has some astrological aspects as well. And it's really good for yes and no questions. It can be really good for finding lost objects. it can be very good for a general reading or a reading for kind of what's coming up in the next week or in the next 3 months or whatever kind of your time period is that you like to do a general reading for, since it does incorporate aspects of the 12 houses in astrology, so you can kind of look at different areas of life in that way. It's a really great system, so I'm looking forward to working with that more. And if you haven't read about or learned about geomancy, I definitely recommend it. It's a really cool system to work with. That was mostly my March. Other than that, normally at this point I say, you know what I've been doing a lot this month? Work. But I had accrued some vacation days at work. We get, several weeks of vacation per year, and we kind of accrue it over the course of the year. And I didn't use it. So since it was coming up to the end of the fiscal year, it was this kind of, you better use your accrued vacation days in a kind of use them or lose them kind of way, even though I was told that they would just roll forward. But some should be used, because in my work, it's important to take some time off and, take some days to yourself, because it's a high stress frontline job. So I had quite a few kind of random 3-day weekends through the course of March. I had some extra time off around my birthday. I had some extra time off around the equinox, which was really nice to just have some time to get some things done around the house. I have made a couple of boxes full of books that I plan to donate. I cleared out my closet and dresser with a bunch of things to donate, some spring cleaning, spring decluttering, clean the kitchen, just things that don't always get done in a really thorough way, as well as some time to relax, which was much needed. We watched a couple of great movies in March. We watched Everything Everywhere All at Once, and we also watched Wakanda Forever. I really liked both of them. So March there was a lot of opportunity for rest for me in March, which I'm very grateful for. And I hope to get a hike sometime soon when it's not a snowstorm. Right now here, the window in the back is shut to avoid weird lighting, but it was really nice this morning, and then immediately, of course, when I'm thinking, I'd like to go outside, it's rain. So no hike today either. And my spouse is under the weather, and I'm probably going to get it too, so I'm just bracing for that. But, so it goes. I wanted to share some of my birthday treats with you. One of the things I'm really excited about that I received for my birthday from my family, that's a bit too large to kind of hold up, is actually in this green box right here behind me. And that is a bird feeder. And the bird feeder goes, it's kind of on a pole that you put into the ground. And it has a kind of cylindrical body, I guess, that you fill with seeds. And it has a thing on the bottom to keep squirrels from just climbing up and knocking it over. The ground is too hard to put it in right now, but I'm really excited, especially since getting my camera and getting a lens that's kind of a birding oriented zoom lens. I'm really excited to have this bird feeder, and my mom kind of knew that I was interested in one, so I was really excited about that. I've already bought some good sunflower seeds for it, so as soon as the weather is cooperative and is a bit warmer, the bird feeder will go up. So I was really excited about that treat. I got an exciting treat from Chris, my partner, as well, who said, at one point I think said he would never buy me a deck, but this time did, because there was one that I had mentioned thinking, that looks interesting. I haven't really seen that one before, when we were walking around the bookstore, and he went back and retrieved it without me knowing. And I haven't really shown this yet or done a video or anything, but that is the Cats Rule the Earth Tarot. I haven't seen this around. I saw it in our local bookstore, and I looked it up on YouTube later, and of course there are some walkthroughs and things. There's definitely a couple of Tarot Tube folks who have this deck, but I hadn't for some reason seen one. And it's a cool little deck. And I really like the fact that the cats in this one are doing cat things. You know, they're not particularly anthropomorphized. Some of them have, you know, little bow ties, or one or two of the courts I think have a little crown. But for the most part, they're just kind of hanging out, being cats, doing things that cats could, you know, feasibly do. You know, a couple of them have these little crowns here. But I really like this. I like the art style. I like the color palette. Someone's meowing at me. What do you know? Daryl, did you hear me talking about cats? He just had his lunch, so there's really nothing that he should need right now. So this is my birthday deck. I'm quite happy with it. I don't know if I will do a video about it. I think that there's several videos about this deck already. I really like the cards. I will say the book is not my favorite. It does have a fair amount per card in it. It just feels a little bit generic. I really want a book like this to tell me about the cats, you know, and the cats' names and what they're doing, and that's just not the style of guidebook that they've gone with. But it has, you know, full color, and I think that, you know, for a beginner this would be a fine book. It has, you know, more than just keywords and, you know, a bit about reading tarot in it, so that's good. It's a good little set. I do want to get a pouch or something for it because it's, I'll show. The cards sit inside this hole in the box, which is never my favorite thing, but I love the deck. I love this deck. So if you would like me to make a video about it, let me know. But again, I think that, you know, there's a good handful of videos about that deck already. But I was really, you know, happy when I received it, you know, having expressed some interest in it and that being remembered. I felt a little bit special by that, and I've been enjoying playing around with it. And of course I found Daryl and Bandit in the deck. Any cat deck, that's my immediate curiosity, is if there's cats that look like mine, and there definitely are. I got myself some treats as well. I'll say, anytime, you know, it's my birthday month, or when it's Pisces season, obviously there's a fair amount of overlap there, I feel like a little bit more inclined to treat myself to things because I can say, you know, well, this is a birthday treat, you know, this is my birthday gift to myself. And a lot of the birthday gift to myself and birthday treat to myself is not necessarily objects. Like, a lot of that is kind of, you know, taking time to have a nice bath with a glass of wine, you know, or taking time to do something that I enjoy, or taking a day off, you know, whatever it might be. But I did buy some treats. So I did treat myself to a new pen. This is the TWSBI VAC 700, and it is in iris. So hopefully you can see that it has the rainbow. I'm going to have to cover my face here, if that will come up. Yeah, there we go. So you can see it's got that kind of rainbow effect there. And the ink I have inside is Jingleberry, which is one of the samples from the Diamine ink vent calendar for this year. I'm not much of a pink person, but this looks really good in this pen. So I'm quite happy with that. I also got this inkwell that goes with this pen. So this is a really cool, you know, little piece of technology. And what this does is that you can fill this with ink of your choice from a sample or something like that. And then the top is threaded inside, as is the pen. So you can put the pen and you screw the pen into this, you flip it, and then you fill the pen using this. It's a mess-free way to fill, and particularly good if you have a sample or something that's not a lot of ink, because this pen doesn't really fit in a sample vial. So that's a very useful little tool. It's compatible with a couple of the different TWSBI pens, like the VAC and the VAC Mini as well, because there's a mini pen of this. So you can see here where it's the threading that screws off when you take the lid off, that screws into the top of the inkwell. So this is really cool. It's a pen that you have to, submerge in the ink, and then you pull back and press in to vacuum fill, hence TWSBI VAC. TWSBI is currently my favorite pen manufacturer, I will say that. I have a few of them, and I really, really like them. And my other favorite pen that isn't TWSBI is an Opus 88, and they use the same nibs as TWSBI, so I definitely have I have a pen type. I also got a couple of inks, and the inks are packed away, but I got out my sample cards here. There's a pen shop in Toronto that I really, really love, that I have ordered basically everything that I have in terms of fountain pens from this one shop. And the shop has cats. The family who runs the shop has cats, and the cats' names are Tuna and Chicken. And they had a pen ink company called Dominant Industry make inks inspired by the two cats. And they're very affordable as far as inks go. And so I got Tuna Gray, named after Tuna the cat, and I put a little tuna sticker there. Tuna Gray. And I got Ginger Chicken. And I put a little chicken down there. So I was quite happy with those. Ginger Chicken is like no other ink that I own in terms of color. And gray I use all the time. I always have one pen, and it's one specific pen that is always inked with a gray of some sort. It's my neutral color. I prefer it over black. So I'm really pleased with those inks. Those are my birthday treats to myself. And then there was one other birthday treat to myself. And this is where I'm shifting into the deck part of the video. Decks that I have purchased this month, I kind of went a little bit deck shopping happy this month. And I don't have most of it here to show you, but I treated myself big time as far as decks go this month, and I'm pretty into it. I'm pretty happy with the deck treating myself this month. One I'm very excited about, that I did not expect to ever necessarily add to my collection, but I'm really, really, really excited about. This, came about pretty quickly. It was totally not specifically on a birthday wish list or anything, because it is a deck that is out of print that I managed to score a copy of. And you can tell me if you want me to make a video of this deck, because I think I'm going to have some thoughts about this one. I'm going to make a video about this deck for sure. That is the Lubanco Tarot by E. Lubanco. This is a deck that is a queer deck. The back reads, a fully illustrated 78 card deck exploring the surreal, the intense, the queer, and the divine. This is a deck that I didn't know that I really liked as much as I like until it was out of print. So I did not get this while it was in print. I missed it. And when it comes to an out of print deck, I do have some, and some of them have been gifts, some of them have been, I think in one case a trade. And I've bought one or two out of print decks, but I'm not somebody who will pay what I feel is a very high amount of money, typically with an exchange rate, because most things are in American currency, for an out of print deck. So when a deck is out of print like this, and I don't have it in my collection and I would like it, my attitude towards it is kind of, if it comes to me, it comes to me. If it comes to me in some way, it comes to me. But I'm not scouring eBay for out of print decks, because they tend to just be out of my budget. When it's up hundreds of dollars, I just don't, I don't go there. So this deck, what happened was, for folks who are unfamiliar, there was a handful of copies left over that the creator decided to sell. And they ended up deciding to sell through a shop based in the States. And so they announced online that they were going to be available for sale at a set time on a set day. And I decided I would go on there at that time. And if they were priced in a way that was not really, really high out of print price, and I could get one, then I would. And if not, then I wouldn't. And that would be fine. And I would be fine either way. And I got one, and I'm so happy. So I have been waiting. It just came. I still have it in the little plastic there. So it just came. I was thinking about doing a kind of first impressions, but I actually don't think that would be very interesting because it's a deck that's been out for a while. It's not anything new, so I don't know that my first impressions of it are of any particular interest to anybody, but I think I'm going to make a video of this deck that's more of a review. I already have thoughts. So, and it's still in the plastic, and I already have thoughts based on what I've seen elsewhere. So I'm very excited about that treat. I did not expect it. I'm very, very happy. I'm very, very happy. I also treated myself to some other decks that aren't here yet. So, I will share that I treated myself to a couple of decks from Make Playing Cards. My friend asked if I would like to share a Make Playing Cards order to, cut down on shipping costs and things like that. And I agreed. So I ended up getting 2 Make Playing Cards decks off of my wish list, which is Tarot Defomantic, and one with the Earth Oracle by Kim of Abundant Life Tarot. And so those are currently at my friend's house. We will see each other in a couple of months, less than 2 months now. So I will be getting those at that time. But I'm very excited. I also bought, somewhat impulsively, because I fell in love, the Great Lakes Oracle, which I also don't have with me yet, but I will soon. I live in a Great Lakes region. I've shown the Great Lakes Tarot before, which I adore. And when I found out there was a Great Lakes Oracle, completely different artist, completely different style. It's watercolor. I was enamored, and so that was my spree. That was my deck spree for March. I also just want to mention 2 Kickstarters that I backed that closed this month. Daryl, I'm sure you can hear him. He's so loud. Daryl, what do you need? Go bug Chris. No, don't bug me. Come here. All right. Gotta take a break for a head scratch. Anyway, sorry. I will tell you about the 2 Kickstarters that closed this month that I backed that are not really tarot decks, but are tarot adjacent. And one is Woad Stone to Stone. This is a solo journaling based RPG based on Welsh mythology with a tarot deck as the basis of the gameplay. So this was a really cool project that I was interested in, even though the deck itself that comes with, that is the game, like the artwork and stuff is totally not my usual style. It's totally outside of the realm of a deck that I would back just for a deck. But AODA Druidry is heavily informed by Welsh mythology. I'm reading mythology as part of my curriculum, and I thought that this would be a really cool way to delve into that in a different way. I was also really impressed with this campaign, like really well thought out, really good stretch goals, a massively collaborative project with a lot of advisors. They had multiple paid sensitivity readers. They had multiple kind of mythology expert consultants working on the project with the writer. They're doing, I think, a soundtrack for it. They're doing a website-based game so that you can play the game online with friends if only one of you has it. It's really cool. So it's tarot-ish, but it's mostly a game, and I'm really excited about that. I also backed Terminus, which is a journaling game based on tarot as well. Terminus is a book. It doesn't have any tarot deck with it. It's a game that you can use any tarot deck that you already have to play. And the idea is that you are out in the world, you know, in a park or in your yard or out and about, drawing cards and writing narratives, you know, through the course of this game. So that just looked like a really cool project, and I backed just for the, you know, the paperback book. So that was my that was my epic treat, you know, splurge of the month. All of those goodies that I'm excited to share with you later. Now, I did receive 2 decks this month that I did not purchase this month, but I received them from previous purchases. One that I'm not going to get into showing here because I just did a whole video on it. This is a tarot Ultraviolette by La Violette. This is a French deck by a Quebecois creator that I'm really excited about. It's queer, it's colorful, it's fun. It has lots of animals in it, and great. Check it out if you haven't seen my video about it. I'm sure there'll be a couple of other videos about it. I'm enjoying working with this deck very much. The other one that I received this month that I had bought previously, and it just came this month, was one that I'd been interested in for a long time, but again, you know, wasn't available. And if something isn't available, then I just don't really count it as being on the wish list. And that is the Tree Whisperer Oracle by Maggie Black. And I know folks have seen this deck. There are a couple of versions of this, 2 versions. And I found out that she was going to do a new printing if there was enough interest for it. And so I expressed interest. And there was enough interest, so the order happened. Mine did get a little bit mushed on one corner. You can see in this deck the corners are actually like square. They're not rounded. And this is just a beautiful oracle, very much, you know, druid made, druidry inspired, speaks to me as a druid. This is, you know, this is extraordinary. I'm very happy with this. So very excited. And that I purchased last month, but it came this month. So that's the decks. That is the decks. And those are the decks I've been using. I've been having fun with Tree Whisperer Oracle. I've been having fun with Tarot Ultraviolette. I have been, mostly doing those and Geomancy because I was in the class. So that's been my practice this month. We're at 28 minutes, making good time. Books I've read this month. I read 7 books. I have 2 of them in physical copy to share with you, but I'll go through each of the 7 briefly. And again, I've timestamped, so if you want to skip the long book ramble because you're here for the tarot talk, then you can. Okay. I read a short story called From Whole Cloth by my friend Sonia Suleiman. Beautiful. Sonia is an author who writes with the inspiration of Palestinian folklore. And this is a beautiful little short story. And, you know, that's published as a kind of standalone, and she has other short stories that are published standalone as well, that you can get on the Kindle. And I loved it. So if you enjoy, you know, folklore-based fiction, check out my friend Sonia. I read Babel by R.F. Kuang. This is one of the most anticipated books of the year for me, of I guess last year, 2022. I received this for Christmas from my mom, and I had wanted to read The Poppy War. I still want to read The Poppy War. There's a content warning heavy chapter in The Poppy War that I might have to skip, and that's why I haven't gotten to it yet. But I was so excited for this novel, which is set at Oxford University, a fictionalized Department of Translation The subtitle is Babel or the Necessity of Violence, an Arcane History of the Oxford Translators' Revolution. And this book is, is a novel, and it's really about the role that language plays in colonialism and in propping up oppressive power structures. It is a fantasy novel wherein there's a magical component to translation. It reads almost a little bit kind of steampunky. It's not, but it has that kind of feel in places for me. It gets into some really interesting kind of social movement strategy kinds of conversations towards the end. Hence the subtitle, The Necessity of Violence. This was really, really good. 5 stars. I adored this. I read this for my friend who some of you will know, Corvin of Tailraven Tarot's Patreon-based book club. We're going to get to discuss it together, which I'm really excited for because I know that they really liked the book as well. I wholeheartedly and unreservedly recommend this. This is really, really good. I got through this shockingly quickly considering how long it is. I did a fair amount of bookmarking, to be able to talk about this with other folks. I thought that this was really, really, really good. And now I just want to read everything she's ever written. It's so good. Check this book out if you haven't read it already. It's really, really good. And it's a standalone. Which, gotta love a fantasy standalone that isn't one of, 10 in a series. It's nice. I read Even Though I Knew the End by C.L. Polk, which is a kind of noir detective fantasy, queer representation. I thought it was okay. I liked the tone. I liked the kind of feel of the kind of time period and just the kind of detective style. Like, I liked how it was written very much. I would read something else by C.L. Polk in a second. I thought it was very atmospheric, and the settings were really well developed. I thought there was way too much thrown into the plot, and I thought that the ending was not what I would have liked. It's not even that it's not what I would have liked. An ending of a book does not have to be the ending that I would personally prefer for me to love the book. Not at all. It felt rushed and like an afterthought. So not my favorite of the month, but I would totally read something by the same author again. So there's that. I read Gods, Monsters, and the Lucky Peach by Kelly Robson, which is a kind of novella, I guess, like short book that relates to time travel and relates to a kind of not quite post-apocalyptic, but late-stage environmental catastrophe, we'll say. Team of scientists traveling back in time to try to study the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, to take what they learn about those things to, back to their present, to try to environmentally kind of remediate the earth. And so there's all kinds of interesting questions about time travel that every, time travel books tend to pose all kinds of interesting questions about kind of causality and changing little things in the past and what the effect of that is on the future. And so there's those aspects, but as a book about environmental change and about like human caused environmental catastrophe, I really liked it. I really liked the characters. I want to read more by Kelly Robson. I thought this was really well done. I read Lords of Uncreation by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Lords of Uncreation is the third book in a trilogy, the Final Architecture trilogy. Adrian Tchaikovsky I really like lately. I'm pretty new to his work. I like his sci-fi better than his fantasy. Just gonna say, he does both. I like both. The sci-fi more, in my opinion. And this was a epic space battle trilogy. It was really well done. The third book, for me, somehow might have been the best one out of the three. It's, it's very adventurous. It has a really interesting, diverse cast of characters. Adrian Tchaikovsky writes science fiction with like very, very non-humanoid aliens, which I really like. Not a lot of authors, I don't think, do that really, really well. And he does. This trilogy includes species of kind of artificially intelligent electronic life forms that were human created that have become their own societies. It includes aliens kind of from other worlds. It has a kind of multi-dimensional aspect to it. Really, really interesting trilogy that I really, really liked. I really liked this. So I recommend The Lords of Uncreation, but it will make no sense if you don't read the first two books first. It's very much, the first book just kind of ends. The second book picks up straight where the first book left off and just kind of ends. And then the third book wraps everything up. He does put in these, the story so far kind of summaries at the beginning of book 2 and 3, which are very helpful. It's also the kind of book that definitely needs and has a list of ships, list of characters, list of planets, list of species, timeline, like a whole bunch of appendices, because it's a lot. And reading these books as I have with kind of a year in between, or a substantial amount of months in between anyway, kind of as they've been published, you need the refresher. But this was so good. This was so good. Final Architecture Trilogy. Fabulous. I read a novella debut, The Lies of the Ajungo by Moses Oze-Utomi. This was a debut that I was very, very excited for. It was described in the kind of like marketing materials, I guess, the blurbs, as kind of an intersection of fantasy and folklore, or fantasy and fable. It reads very much like that. It reads very folkloric. It follows a young character from a village where there was no water. And the Ajungo, in the title, The Lies of the Ajungo, come and make a bargain with this village to provide them with just enough water to get by, or to mostly get by, but the price is very, very steep. And they agree to it. And the main character sets off from the village in search of water, trying to change the society that he lives in for the better, right? Trying to find a way out of this dependency, I guess, on the Ajungo. And it was so good. This was so good. I wanted it to be longer. That was like my main gripe about it. It was beautiful. It was so good. I want to read everything this author's written. I can't wait to see what he does next. Beautiful. And finally, another book that I received for Christmas from my mom. I read Never Say You Can't Survive, How to Get Through Hard Times by Making Up Stories by Charlie Jane Anders. And Charlie Jane Anders is a sci-fi fantasy author. I've read her short stories before. I've also read her novel, The City in the Middle of the Night. There's a nice picture of her there with fabulous pink bob. And this is a fiction writing book because I've mentioned, talking about the Deck of Worlds, I have some aspiration to at least try writing a paragraph and then maybe a short story and then see what goes from there. And this really relates to writing fiction at a time that feels catastrophic. Writing fiction amidst political upheaval and environmental catastrophe and, threats to our safety and our well-being as queer people, as other, folks of marginalized identities, and the power of writing story and the power of fiction and the power of fiction for visioning and the power of science fiction and fantasy in particular, though a lot of this book is applicable to any kind of fiction writing at all. Certainly it skews towards sci-fi fantasy because that's what the author does. This is something that I don't know how revolutionary this would be for somebody who is already writing fiction or for somebody who, perhaps has a creative writing academic background, but this is just this is just the perfect little mix of a pep talk, a loving pep talk that, you know, I think I needed, quite frankly, and tips, interesting tips for some exercises to try, you know, writing in different voices and different tenses, you know, tips for kind of the editing process. I didn't know, I mean, obviously this is going to very much reflect the author's own writing process, but she talks about editing in this, you know, really intense, interesting ways, talking about writing a short story and then changing it from first person to third person after it's already done, because, you know, for one reason or another it seems to work better. All these kind of different considerations around tone, around representation, around diverse representation, complex representation, around, you know, who the narrator is and figuring out who your narrator is, figuring out, you know, how to make a background of a setting come alive. And so it's a lot of, you know, considerations, like things to consider. It's not overly prescriptive. It's very much, writing can be cathartic. It's very much, you know, writing as a process, like for yourself as much as it is for readers, and just feels really like loving and supportive. And so I really love this. I just finished this. I have, you know, some bookmarks in. I did a fair amount of underlining. I really like when she says something in here, and I'm not going to find the exact quote, but she says something in here about kind of writing being the only technology where the gears and the ornamentation are not separate. And so I've been thinking about that and thinking about style, and I'm going to try some of the little exercises in here. I have a few other fiction writing books to explore, but this is a really good place to start. That's very, you know, everybody has something to say, and it's a very kind of non-intimidating book, which I really like and appreciate. I really like this. Okay. My page a day book. I'm not going to share much in this because I haven't really done too much in here. I've written a lot of quotes, including from Charlie Jane Anders' book. Which I really liked. I made a little air artwork there. That's our symbol for air in AODA. Some more quotes. I wrote down some spreads that I did, some tarot spreads that I did. I was working on synthesizing some moon phase keywords, so I wrote down those in a couple of places. My friend gifted me some cards with these mushrooms on them, not knowing that I was allergic to mushrooms, so that was fun. That was for my little birthday party. We had some friends over. Just some different things, you know. I wrote down a bit of a kind of gratitude on my 36th birthday about things that I loved on my birthday. The first sentence is about food, baked goods, and bindi bhaji and tarka dal, which I had for dinner. Very good, and time with my spouse, and, you know, nice, relaxing time. So nothing super exciting to show in terms of artwork. Most of it is just writing down things this month. And last but not least, I thought that I would share my check-in about my decks to explore / deck wish list. It hasn't changed much, actually, except for that I checked off Duffomantic, and I checked off One with the Earth, because I ordered those from the Make Playing Cards. Sign of the Times Oracle is still on my list. Rustic Roots Lenormand is still on my list, but again, unless I start working with Lenormand more actively, it's probably not going to happen this year, to be quite honest. Flow Tarot is still on my list. I haven't crossed it off again. That Aphrodrip Tarot is not out yet. Mirror Oracle, not out yet. Octavia Butler Tarot, not out yet. No date, no nothing, so those are still there. I've added the Diverse Marseille to my list, and I'm quite into the colors in the Diverse Marseille. If folks haven't seen it, Krista of Anti-Case Tarot Insights has a video on the Diverse Marseille. There's a couple of videos about it. I like it and Tom Benjamin's Multi-Marseille, both of which are more diverse Marseille decks that are based in historic decks. I'm leaning for myself towards the diverse Marseille, in large part, because the one historical deck that I have that I like, that I've done some Marseille study with, that I can't see leaving my collection, is a Noblet restoration, and the Multi-Marseille is a Noblet based one, so I think it would just feel more repetitive in my collection, whereas the diverse Marseille would feel more different, and it's also really bright with bright backgrounds. So that's on the list. I'm not going to be racing out and buying it. If I decide to spend some more time on Marseille study, or do another make playing cards order, it's on the list, but not in any kind of rush. I did briefly consider Wise Woman Tarot. It was on sale. It's I think it's about 20 years old now. Vintage feminist deck, multicultural, goddess-based. Totally not my thing in most respects, but I'm interested in feminist history, and I'm interested in the history of feminist contributions to tarot, and so in that sense I'm curious about it, but I haven't even put it on the to explore list, and I have not bought it. I don't know that I would use it much, to be quite honest. It's not my usual style, and I'm sure I would find some issues with it if some second wave issues with it. So because I'm mostly interested in it as a historical thing, I don't know that that's going to end up in my collection. Probably not. And I've looked at some other things this month, but I haven't added anything else to the list. The Diverse Marseille is the only one that I added. And I added Lubanco and then immediately checked it off because, I don't put those out of print decks on the wish list as if I'm going to go scouring for them when I'm not. So my list hasn't really changed very much. My list hasn't changed very much, but I sure did do some shopping. So, thanks for watching. This has been a long ramble, birthday month ramble. That's been my March. I'm looking forward to, in April, hopefully doing 2 tree videos to get caught up. I have some tags that I would really like to do in April. I really want to do Lennon's Books for the Majors tag. I'm working on a list of books for the majors. I'm probably about a little less than halfway there. I'm trying to use only books that I actually have in my physical collection because I want to be able to hold them up. So I'm getting there. I'm definitely going to do that tag. I found a Glorious Guidebooks tag about deck guidebooks that we like, and I would like to do that VR. I would like to perhaps make a video about Lubanco. We'll see how my working with it goes. I might need a little bit more time with it. I know I'm going to have quite a bit to say about Lubanco Tarot, so I will make a video about that. If there's anything else you want a video from me about, feel free to let me know. I'm always, thinking about ideas for things. I don't have too much planned for April, but there's some thoughts. Anyway, I will see you all in the next video. No idea what that will be, but I will see you then. Thank you for watching, and have a great day and a great beginning to your April.